Spongilla lacustris is in the kingdom Animalia, phylum Porifera, class Demospongiae, order Spongillida, family Spongillidae, genus Spongilla, and species Lacustris, making the scientific name Spongilla lacustris. Spongilla lacustris vary greatly in size, but usually grow to be around 50 to 100 centimeters. The shape and size usually depends on what form it takes, sometimes appearing like weeds or spreading out if it's growing under a rock or a log. Spongilla lacustris is usually a white sponge, as it appears here, but oftentimes in pictures, and is most commonly seen as green because of its symbiotic relationship with algae. Their relationship with algae is also what makes it appear to look like a weed and grow upward like thick grass. It will appear white when it is under a rock because it is not exposed to sunlight, but otherwise is commonly associated with algae, which gives it the green color. Spongilla lacustris lives only in fresh water, such as lakes or ponds. They grow under rocks and logs covered from the sun, but can also grow in the reed in the open when it is associated with algae. They live throughout Asia, Europe, and North America, and are the most abundant freshwater sponge in all of Europe. Like most sponges, Spongilla lacustris is a filter feeder. They filter water that enters through an inlet called an ostium. This pore is covered with a cell called procrit. As it filters water in, it collects in a hold called spongocoel. The spongocoel is covered with cells that propels the water and feed on the plankton. This filtered water leaves to the osculum. Spongilla lacustris has the ability to hibernate due to the fact it lives in colder climates. During this time, only one type of cell survives, called archeotypes. Archeotypes are surrounded by a shell, or gemulae. Gemulae have many characteristics of an egg. They are surrounded by osmotic, impenetrable membrane, and they are capable of surviving for long periods of time. The other tissues of this freshwater sponge die during this time. They can reproduce both asexually and sexually. They reproduce asexually two ways, through bud formation or gemulae formation. They can only reproduce sexually in the summertime when the sponge gives birth to live larvae. These live larvae are free swimming. The crazy thing is, Spongilla lacustris are hermaphrodites because they can produce both sperm and eggs.